Welcome in to the Wednesday edition of the Stripe Show podcast. You're wondering, who is that guy? Well, my name is Froggy. I am from Elvis, Duran and the Morning Show. I do a morning radio program that's heard all across the country on the iHeartRadio app. Maybe you're even listening to the podcast right now on the iHeartRadio app. So that's where I'm from. But I am a self-admitted absolute golf nut. I love golf. It is my favorite thing in the world to do. I love to play it. I love to watch it. It's always on TV in my house. My wife thinks I have a problem, but it's really not a problem. And there's a very good chance that if you're listening to this podcast or watching this podcast on social, that you too are a golf nut. And you know what? Golf nuts, we unite right here every single Wednesday on the Stripe Show podcast. So I want to say a huge thank you to Travis. Travis has invited me in to be a part of the Stripe Show Nation, and I really am honored to do it. I think it's great. So I love what Travis has built here. I know that on Mondays, he does a recap and talks about what went on at the tournament the week before. I actually joined Travis on that this week and a couple other times as well. Then on Tuesdays, he does his daily fantasy show where he's got daily fantasy picks, and they do that. It's a great show as well. I will be taking over on Wednesdays, and I'll tell you what you can expect every single Wednesday here on the Stripe Show podcast. And then on Thursdays, one of my favorite shows Travis does is the instruction show where he talks to coaches. And you know what? Guys like me, and I'm sure there's a ton of you, always trying to perfect your golf swing. You're just one swing away from figuring that out. And Thursdays are great as well. And then Samantha Marks takes over on Friday. So much good content here. I'm pleased to be a part of it. And you know what? I don't want to let Travis down. I don't want to let you guys down. Travis said he was looking for somebody with common sense, a voice of reason, and somebody that loves golf. Well, I do love golf. I'm not sure I've ever been referred to as the voice of reason or common sense, but here I am, and we're going to do this every single Wednesday. It'll be Froggy Wednesdays on the Stripe Show podcast. So what exactly can you expect? Well, I'll tell you. Number one, during football season, probably going to hear a little bit about the Florida Gators and a little bit about Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers because I am a huge fan of both just as much as I love golf. And my favorite golfer, we all have to have one. I'm going to let you guess. I'm going to give you 3 seconds. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, those of you that said Tiger Woods, you're exactly right. I'm a huge Tiger Woods fan, but there are many players on tour I admire, I like. I'm friends with some of the guys on tour. And so, you know what? Golf really is my thing. So you can expect me to talk about what's going on in the world of golf, any kind of news, any kind of thing, any kind of controversy going on. We'll definitely talk about that. We'll be talking about the tournament that starts tomorrow. Tournaments generally start on Thursdays. We'll be talking about that. Obviously, the match play tournament runs long. That starts on Wednesday. But generally, we'll talk about tournaments that are coming up, what you can expect, who I like to win, who I like to play well, who's maybe not been playing so well lately and maybe is going to make a good showing. We'll talk about that. And we're also going to have tons of interviews. We'll have player interviews on. We'll talk to rules officials when there's a big rules faux pas going on. We'll talk about rules. You name it, we'll talk about it. We'll have club manufacturers on. We'll talk about the latest and the greatest coming out that is going to help your game as well. So much to do here on Wednesdays. Let's get started. This week, we got the Valspar Championship back in Florida at the Innisbrook Copperhead course. And it's weird. You know, this year, the Florida swing has kind of been split up. Usually we were all crammed in there together. We kind of went around the state in a big U shape, but not anymore. With them moving the players back to the March date, the Valspar was kind of the odd man out. They tried to cram it all in 2019 as we did not have a Valspar championship last year. I always get, for some reason, as you can see, I'm wearing my players gear. I always have players on the brain when it comes to Florida because I live here in Ponte Vedra and love going to the players. But yeah, last year we did not get a Valspar championship due to the pandemic. But Paul Casey back in the field, 2-time defending champion, 2 times in a row. One in 2018, if you remember, had that crazy putting day where Tiger Woods finished 1 shot out of the lead for his first victory back. Now we do know that Tiger has had 3 victories since then. He won the Tour Championship, he's won the Zozo, and he also has won the Masters in 2019. So Tiger got his victories. Not upset with Paul Casey for that amazing Sunday anymore. But yeah, 2 wins in a row for Paul Casey. He will go for his 3rd Valspar in a row. Trivia question time. You know, the last person to win 3 of the same event 3 years in a row? You got it. Steve Stricker won the John Deere Classic 3 years in a row. It's been a while, but Stricker, the last person to do it. So that tells you, just by the fact of how long it's been, that it really is difficult to win. Even though you're comfortable at a golf course, you still got to pull the shots off, and somebody else gets hot. So it'll be interesting to see if Casey is able to get 3 in a row. He has been playing well. So coming into the Valspar, I would expect Paul Casey to be there contending on Sunday. Really good field, 19 of the top 50 in the world this week. So we should get some good golf. Not a slouch of the field. We got world number 1 and world number 2, Dustin Johnson and Justin Thomas. They are paired together. For some reason lately, Dustin Johnson has not been driving the ball quite as well. And he made a putter switch, if you remember, on Sunday. He made a putter switch at Hilton Head. So it will be interesting to see if the putter switch sticks around this week. Will we see him with the new putter? Putter's not out yet, but TaylorMade says it will be out soon. So let's see if he sticks with that new putter, or does he go back to the trusty Spider that he has won so many events with. I would expect to see Justin Thomas play well. Obviously won the Players, and so I would expect him to play well. He was in contention, if you remember, at the Masters, and then that Saturday afternoon, it put up some high numbers there on the back nine. So it'll be interesting to see if Justin Thomas plays well here this week at the Valspar. I would expect him to. I know he had a top 10 a few years back, so let's hope we see the good JT. Also, Patrick Reed paired with Phil Mickelson this week. Patrick Reed, a 2-time runner-up here at the Valspar, 2015 and 2018. So it'll be interesting to see if Patrick Reed returns to form at the Innisbrook Copperhead course. It is a ball strikers course. It's long, it's narrow, and it puts a premium on placing the ball in the fairway. So I think Patrick Reed will play well. Patrick Reed does have a great short game when he's not been in the rules, but that's neither here nor there. Charles Schwartzel as well in the field this week. He's another one I like. 2016 champion here at the Valspar, and finished second last week in the team event with Louis Oosthuizen. Was heartbreaking to see how they lost when Oosthuizen lost that ball right on the first playoff hole on number 18 when he hit it in the water, and it cost those guys a chance to win the golf tournament. So Schwartzel playing well. Would expect to see him high up the leaderboard as well. Now, we do have 4 COVID-19 withdrawals this week out of the field. So we've lost Will Gordon, Bryce Garnett, Sepp Straka, and Terrell Hatton. Now, what do those 4 guys have in common other than dropping out of the Valspar field? The fact that all 4 of them were in the field last week at Zurich. Now, I'm sure I'm not bringing up anything the tour hasn't thought of. Do we have a situation on our hands where maybe they were around some other guys and we're going to see more either withdrawals or testing issues? The tour has done a phenomenal job of creating the bubble that they can, testing players, keeping guys healthy. We haven't really seen a lot of withdrawals due to positive tests. And I know that they're getting ready to make a change in the testing way they're doing it now with vaccines being out. We will see a change moving forward with testing. But hopefully none of these guys will be a concern for somebody else. They'll be able to quarantine and get back on tour as soon as possible. Maybe as soon as next week. I'm not sure what the days are. I think it's 10 days. So they'd be able to then quarantine, test negative, and be back next week for the Wells Fargo at Quail Hollow. But my favorite story of the week so far, and a guy that I can tell you I will be pulling for tomorrow morning when he tees off, is Michael Visacki. You ask yourself, who the hell is Michael Visacki? Well, Michael Visacki is somebody who has been trying for 7 years to qualify for a PGA Tour event. He's been playing on many tours. He has tried many times to Monday qualify, but this past Monday, he finally got it done. If you haven't seen the clip on social media and you're on Instagram, check out at PGA Tour. You can go to the Big Mike Visacki. He's also on Instagram as well. If you haven't heard it yet, this is when the young man finally qualified for his first PGA Tour event. Who does he call? He calls his father to let him know, I'm finally going to play on the PGA Tour.
Hey, Dad.
Hey.
How are you?
All right.
I made it. Yeah. Yes.
Oh, my God. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah. You deserve it.
Thank you. Is Mom with you or no?
No.
All right.
She's at the bank.
Okay. I'll give her a call.
Hopefully Michael's at the bank come Sunday afternoon. So it really is a great story. It's a story of hope. It's a story of never, ever giving up on your dreams. And if you're somebody who plays this game, you want to play professionally, don't ever let anybody tell you it can't happen, because Michael is living proof. You don't quit. After 7 years of trying to get into a PGA Tour event, he will tee it up tomorrow morning at the Valspar Championship at the Innisbrook Copperhead course. I know I'll be pulling for him. I would love to see him make the cut. Love to see him have a great week. But either way, Michael, you're a success, and we'd love to have you here on the Stripe Show podcast sometime. If anybody knows Michael, reach out to him and tell him we'd love to have him on. Also going on right now, the 2021 PGA Professional Championship. PGA professionals from all over the country teeing it up in Port St. Lucie. And Omar Uresti is currently leading. Oh, man, in the lead. Maybe you say, I've heard that name before. Yeah, Omar used to play on tour. He's played in some majors before. He's currently leading by 3 strokes as I record this. So as we're doing this, he's currently leading. So it'll be interesting to see. They finish tonight. If you want to watch it, it is on Golf Channel. Hopefully Omar can pull that off. The prize, not just winning this tournament, but also you get into the PGA Championship taking place in 2 weeks in Kiowa Island in South Carolina. So that'd be a big win for Omar as well. I would be remiss if I didn't talk about the Player Impact Program. That seems to be a hot button. Some people really have a problem with it. Some people love it. I would fall under the category of those people who love it. If you're not sure what the Player Impact Program is, it is a program that is going to reward people for what I feel is putting eyes on our sport that we love so much. So we already reward guys for playing well in tournaments and being on the top 125 on the money list. Gets you your PGA Tour card for the next week. For the next season. But how are we rewarding people for putting extra eyes on our sport? And that's what this Player Impact Program does. So a $40 million pool of money, $8 million of it going to first place. There are logistics in place for tiered placement. They've got data programs set up so they can exactly determine who's in first, second, third, fourth, fifth, all the way down to 10th place will get paid. And I think this is phenomenal. I know some of the older guys, I know Freddie Couples and Mark Calcavecchia have spoken out about it. They're not a fan. They think there are other ways this money could be spent, but I see it twofold. I see it, one, as almost like a separate advertising program where instead of spending money on the networks and instead of spending money on social media clicks or Google clicks or whatever the PGA Tour is spending money, this is the way to get their biggest asset, the PGA Tour, their players, to be more accessible, get out there more, tell more of the story of the game of golf. Let's show what they're doing. I love nothing more than when we used to see Ricky Fowler and Justin Thomas and Jordan Spieth and Smiley Kaufman on their Breakers Bay spring break vacation they would go on every year. I thought that was great. I enjoyed it. I watched it. It was something I looked forward to every day. Hell, I remember even picking up my phone sometimes to see if they had posted anything else. They played barefoot. They played with Old Persimmon Woods. They were just having fun. And to me, that's what social media is for when it comes to players. I understand that there are sponsor obligations on social media, and I get that. I'm 100% supportive of that. But I love to see more of, like, for example, Brooks Koepka has said that he wants to play Dave Portnoy from Barstool Sports, and Brooks is willing to play left-handed. I think that's fabulous. I can't wait to watch it. That's what we need to see, and that drives the game. It puts more eyes on our sport, and I think that is a win for everybody. So I'm excited to see that, and I'm excited for these guys to show us. I love seeing a player swing. I love seeing their practice routines, see what they're doing. We're all trying to emulate what they're doing on tour. They're the best players in the world. This gives us a bigger and better vision into what they're doing off the golf course. I think it's a great thing. So kudos to the PGA Tour and the Player Impact Program. It'll be interesting to see who wins. It's obvious Tiger Woods could easily come in first place every year, but it'll be interesting to see how they adjust it and what they do moving forward to dole out the $40 million. Lots of great golf coming up. We've got Wells Fargo coming up next week after the Valspar this week, then the Byron Nelson. Then our second major of the year We'll get to the PGA Championship at Kiel Island. So much good golf coming up. We'll talk about it every week here on the Stripe Show podcast. Once again, it's Froggy from Elvis Duran in the Morning Show, now your host of Wednesdays here on the Stripe Show podcast. I want to say thank you so much. Coming up next Wednesday, we got a great guest lined up. 6-time PGA Tour winner, 2014 FedEx Cup winner, and this year's 2021 WGC Dell Match Play champion, Billy Horschel, will join us here on the Stripe Show podcast. Billy Horschel, great guy, lives here in Ponte Vedra Beach as well. Billy is actually the spokesperson for the Player Action Committee. So we'll talk to Billy about how they're changing up the COVID testing with the vaccinations being out. What are they doing to keep everybody safe? How's that going to change on tour? We'll talk to Billy. He has been very outspoken about arm lock putting on the tour. I know there's a handful of guys doing it. Billy seems to have issue with it and says that he really thinks that anchoring the putter was actually less of an advantage than arm lock putting. We'll talk to Billy about that and talk to him about how well he's playing and what's coming up on the PGA Tour, and ask him about the Player Impact Program. Are the players a fan of it? I would guess they are if it's been approved. And would they do things differently now that there is that little $40 million nugget hanging out there, dangling over them? Are there things they would do now that they wouldn't have done in the past to try and maybe get a piece of the pie? So we'll ask Billy all of that. We'll be here every Wednesday. Stripe Show Nation. Travis, thank you so much for allowing me to be a part of what you're doing. If you want to reach out at any time, I'm on social media at Froggy Radio. Hit me up on my DMs. Would love to talk to you. If there's a guest you want us to have on, we would love to do it. If you think I have a really bad take on something, you know what? Reach out to me there. I would love to talk about that as well, and we'll get you here on the Stripe Show podcast sometimes. Thanks again. Good luck to everybody at the Valspar. We'll see you guys next week right here on Froggy Wednesdays on the Stripe Show podcast.